preparing the live stream and meeting.
Oh.
So I can't see you guys yet. I'll pull you guys up shortly, but. Almost there. Bum, 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 bum.
Says it's live.
Okay, it is bringing us live here. Perfect. Okay, so people can see us now.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
They can see me singing my little song. Okay. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay. I just had to mute myself on YouTube, or else I was going to hear myself talking the whole time. Okay. So welcome, everyone. Unfortunately, we weren't able to stream Zoom to Facebook Live. There's a little glitch on their end. So it's working to YouTube. So if you're here, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, so we're just going to wait a little bit here so people can find us. They can type in their questions. If you have any questions at all throughout this conversation, just type in the comment section below. And the discussion today is the posture of the youth. So I will let Deanna start us off.
All right, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. These are sure interesting times that we're in. We always have to be so fluid and flexible in the moment because technology is like throwing us a few curveballs and all of these things. And so first of all, I just want to introduce who's here. This is the second episode of Discussions with the Fascia Masters. So my name is Deanna Hansen. I'm a certified athletic therapist and the founder of Fluid Isometrics and Block Therapy. And we are joined with Quinn Castellane, who happens to be my nephew. He's the vice president of Block Therapy, as well as a lead block therapist, as well as we have Penka Thompson. So Penka is my executive assistant, a block therapy instructor, and she also helped to co-create the Block for Kids program using her adorable son, Alex. Give a hello, Penka.
Hi, everyone.
So today what we want to talk about is the posture of the youth. And here we're right now talking about technology. And there's a lot of reasons that the youth are in a different postural issue than older generations. And technology is definitely one of the main reasons from my perspective, because basically what happens over time with our posture is we collapse into our bodies. Gravity is this constant force pulling us down, and it's really the aging driver. So we have opportunities to counter the process of aging through proper posture, proper diaphragmatic breathing. But the youth are in a bit of a different situation now, because unlike my generation, I'm 50 years old, unlike my generation, the youth are actually growing up in front of technology. And this is proving to be a really different set of issues that they are having, because they are growing up without the proper diaphragmatic breath. So typically in my youth, babies, or in my generation, babies were born breathing diaphragmatically. And then over time, we lose that ability. Pain, fear, and stress cause us to reactively hold the breath. So we start breathing a certain way, and then because life is stressful, we have pain, we don't understand everything that's going on, we reactively start holding the breath, but the body is built to survive. So when we're in those chronic times of stress, the body kicks in and the upper chest muscles in the body start working the breath. So this is ultimately, I've got some noise going on here in the building, sorry, a little distracting. This is really what happens to most of us, and it's what causes aging. Now, what's happening to the youth though, because they are growing up in this forward compressed body, their breath is compromised from a very early age. So oxygen, which is the most important nutrient for growth and development, it is hampered far earlier than in older generations. So now what's happening is they're growing up with less oxygen during their developmental years. And it's happening earlier and earlier all the time now, because now the parents of the technology generation are having kids. So these babies are coming out also not breathing diaphragmatically, which again is just really changing things. And it's interesting to see, because I can, like, when I was starting this work 20 years ago, I saw a very specific signature posture that the majority of people had. And then 10 years later, because of how technology changed, postures were changing. And again, because how technology is changing. Now we're in front of phones more. Or the posture is changing even further. So this is really becoming problematic. And we're seeing that in the rate of allergies, ADHD, depression, all of the issues that kids are having today. So Panko is amazing. She again used her son Alex. So, Panka, take us a little through the process of when you were teaching Alex block therapy, what that actually was different for in relation to teaching adults.
For sure. So one of the things that we had to do is, first of all, change my mindset a little bit. I very quickly realized that I had to slow things down. With adults, usually we recommend to hold the positions for at least 3 minutes. But with Alex and with other kids' classes that I have taught, I have found that 1 to 2 minutes, at least, especially to start with, is a good time. And the kids are not as compressed as we are. So the changes happen faster with them. So that's one reason why we held the positions for less time. That necessarily didn't translate into having shorter sessions, because the first few times when we started practicing, it took us a long time to get through even just 3 or 4 positions. So attention and focus was one other thing that we had to overcome. And there seemed to be a lot of distraction, a lot of talking, so which was fine. I think that's where I said my mindset had to change, because I had to take a slower approach with him. And I find with the other kids' classes as well, that's what we did as well. So we did do things to distract him a little bit, or even to focus. So it's funny to say distract, which at the same time also helped to focus. And this time was used a little bit differently. Usually with an adult, you are focusing internally. You enter that meditative state when you connect with your pain, where with kids, we almost had to, as I said, distract them from that so that they can stay on the block.
So just a little bit of backlog here about block therapy. For those people that don't know, block therapy is a practice where we use a handcrafted cedar wooden block to lie over the tool, move into pain with your breath, which helps to melt through adhesions in your tissue, in your fascia. And by melting through these adhesions, we promote blood and oxygen flow to cells. So that's what the process of block therapy itself does. So with this Block for Kids process, because in block therapy for adults, we have everybody hold a minimum of 3 minutes. Now, for anybody with kids, 3 minutes can be a really long time to get them to do any one thing. So, but as Panka also learned, they don't need that long, correct?
That's right. Yes. Yeah. And I found the key was consistency. Because we experienced that in the first few days, and then later it was so much easier to get on the block, and our time shortened to 15 to 20 minutes. That's
amazing. And so I remember, Panka, when you first shared Alex's before and after pictures, was that a 3-week difference in his photos?
2 or 3 weeks, yes.
And it was pretty incredible because, you know, he really brought in the understanding of proper postural alignment. I remember looking at his before pictures. If left and not doing this practice, you could see how his body would get pulled into a scoliosis. He was also very forward in his body. And after those 3 weeks, I was really impressed how much different that looked. Like his body lifted, his shoulder blades were level and balanced, like things had really changed. And you could really see that he brought that understanding of proper alignment into his body. Right. So did you find that component, because for adults, I find that teaching the postural aspect is probably one of the harder pieces. It's easy to lie on the block, you know, and learn to breathe, but bringing conscious posture into your day is a challenge. So what were some of the things that you were able to do with Alex to really bring that piece into the equation?
So there was a lot of reminders when I would see him sitting, or the way he would, even just look at a phone or sit on the couch, to remind him how to sit, how to stand. Mainly, we didn't even do a lot of those reminders throughout the day. It was mainly the practice that we did with the block baby that helped contribute to those changes. But those daily activities and especially for adults, I guess, is also very important to put those into the daily life.
I find, I call it the lock and talk. One of the things we talk about posturally is lower body foundation or rooting. And if you look at people, typically they stand with their knees hyperextended. So when we have hyperextended knees, we really have no control over the alignment of our body. Once we bring better alignment in and we bend those knees, now we can actually control where the pelvis is situated, which allows us to breathe better diaphragmatically. So when people are talking, and even myself, and it's so funny because Quinn and I were recently in Puerto Rico, and we were out at a coffee roasting plantation. It was absolutely amazing. And Edna took a photo of me, and here I'm standing hyperextended with my knees as I'm listening. I'm like, yep, it doesn't matter how long you've been in this practice. It's one of those things that if you're not conscious, we're likely not going to be standing or sitting properly. So it's really bringing that conscious habit into play. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, if we can get kids to start sooner, those habits become that much more strongly ingrained, so that as they do age, their bodies are positioned in such a better alignment. So Quinn, with you, for example, as a young boy, you were a high-end hockey player, and the posture that did on top of, just being young, what did you feel in your body because you were such a high level,
Well, yeah, no, that's a good question, because when you're young, obviously your consciousness isn't as developed, so you don't necessarily understand really what you're doing negatively to your body. I remember, because I would always work out when I was young too. I would always flex my muscles as hard as I could. I would just do things always to the extreme. And if I knew what that was doing to me back in the day, well, when that was, I never would have done any of that, because you don't realize how much a certain sport, if you're playing a high-end sport and you're doing that every single day for an hour, 2 hours, and you're in a weird posture, like a hockey player, you're leaning forward and you're skating like a duck. We talk about not wanting to have your feet like a duck, and leaning forward, you're putting all of this stress on your back. So all the tissue in the back of your body is constantly trying to pull you back to proper alignment. And then you're skating literally, as I mentioned, like a duck. And what that happens to our fascia around our legs, now I'm growing like that, because I started playing hockey when I was 4 years old, 5 years old. I started skating when I was 2. This was literally my life. I wanted to go professional in hockey. Thank God I didn't, because I'm in the best place now with block therapy. But it's hard to train your body once you're really compressed to come back to the proper alignment if you don't have a tool to help you. But with block therapy, because we have a tool, which is of course the block buddy, and we're given the proper instruction, we're very efficient with the melting process and how we can realign the body. So that's another beautiful thing about the body and the fascia, is it's never too late, but it's better to start earlier than later. So I had a lot of work to do. Deanna, of course, as you know, is my aunt. So Deanna would always work on me because I had a lot of injuries, issues. I was very, very compressed. Deanna knows how intensive a person I was growing up. So there's still some habits that I can still feel from playing hockey. And then the thing is, I was also bodybuilding on top of that once I got to the age of 16. So it's incorrect posture from playing hockey growing up, plus working out. And working out doesn't mean I was working out perfectly. I was probably working out completely incorrectly. I didn't understand posture. Nobody should be in the gym throwing weights around if you don't understand the fundamental postural pieces. So that's another really important thing as well. As soon as you get to that age where you want to start doing more push, like body weight stuff is still great, but it's still knowing how to do body weight stuff. Sorry for diversifying the topic slightly, but it is really important because I was that kid. I wanted to have big muscles at a young age. I wanted to be strong at a young age. And if we can just understand that, if we can just allow our body to grow, do block therapy to help assist our body to grow at this young age, your body is going to thank you so much when you're older, because the younger you start, you are at such an advantage compared to the average person, because now you understand what block therapy can do, what fascia is. Even if you don't really fully understand the concept of fascia, you still know intuitively what it is because you're working in your fascia every day. You're understanding your breath, you're understanding your posture. Those three things to understand at a young age, you have this exponential knowledge that other people don't have, and you're going to be able to translate that to other people as well. So I'm just glad I found, or Deanna developed block therapy by the time I was 18, because I could reverse all of these adhesions I had and postural habits I had, because now my body is completely different. I still work out. I still play sports. I still do high-end sports at times, but at least I have a tool to help me with performance, recovery, posture, alignment, breathing, everything. So.
And that's the thing about sports too. So I was a provincial volleyball player and a Highland dancer growing up. I started dancing at the age of 7. I think I started volleyball at about the age of 10. So whenever we're playing an organized sport, typically you're using your dominant side and you've got some kind of rotation happening. So I was a power hitter in volleyball. So the number of times I had my arm up behind my head and I spiked the ball, and I practiced, and I probably did hundreds of those a day, because whether I was serving or I was hitting the ball, that was what I loved to do. But as I started to truly understand what that did to my body, I really found how that created this rotation and this ceiling in my body. And I'm still working through issues that occurred as I grew up because of that. So obviously, and I love volleyball. And that's the thing, like, people are playing sports, hopefully because you love them. So we don't want you to not do the things that you love, but understand what the things that you love are doing to you, and then work with the tools to undo the damage that may have occurred. And I remember when I was young too, they were always telling people, you have to stretch. And absolutely, and nobody would stretch. I mean, we were told you have to stretch, but stretching just didn't seem like it was worthy of our time if we were an athlete. So it's kind of like the same understanding. So blocking is really stretching your fascia. And releasing it from the bone to really give you more tissue to work with, as opposed to that tissue sealing onto your bone. And now you have a different structure that can only move in a certain way dependent on how you have sealed. And injury, surgery, and compression all seal the body out of alignment. So really it comes down to scar tissue and dense tissue. That's how gravity manipulates us and torques and twists us and ages us in certain ways. And, something like scoliosis, for example, where we think it's a function of the spine because that's where we see the curve, it's really coming from how the legs are torquing and pulling on the core of the body. So the arms and the legs, in my opinion, because we've worked with lots of kids and we've seen some great improvements with these kids, these youth, doing block therapy, that we can really bring them back to balance. And when we stop tugging on their limbs, their spine starts to go back into proper alignment. So when you were going to say something there, sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's all good. I'm just glad you brought up that topic about sports and not wanting to stop playing the sports, no matter what you're doing. And if you love doing what you're doing, don't stop. It's just add something in to help you along the way. And I wish I had this tool to help that I could have added in along the way when I was playing hockey, because it gets intense. I didn't realize how intense high-end sports were when you were a kid until I got a little bit older and looked back on that time. I'm like, that was a really intense time of my life. Like, you live and breathe that sport. And that depends, like, if you do live and breathe the sport or if you're just playing it for fun, whatever the case is. But even just understanding what that sport is doing to your body physically and how to correct that when you're not doing that sport. So for example, if you're a professional golfer, you're going to be swinging in one direction all the time. So you have to understand what that's doing to your fascia, what that's doing to your spine and your alignment. So you got to strengthen that opposite rotation as well. Just as an example, if I'm playing hockey, you have to understand that, okay, this is really shooting my feet out like a duck and I'm collapsing forward. So when I'm not playing hockey, I have to make sure that I can release that compression and train internal rotation of the legs and strengthen. If I'm going to the gym, I have to strengthen my body correctly, because in that time of when you're playing a sport, if it's 30 minutes or 4 hours, you still have to understand the consequences of it and counter that. And it's very, very efficient with block therapy to counter those negative forces that sports can be putting on us. So again, it's not stopping what you're doing, it's just adding something in to help you along the way. And it's going to help you with performance significantly. It's going to help you with recovery significantly. So yeah, that's I'm glad you brought up that topic, because that's super important. We don't ever want to say don't do something. We want to say keep doing the things that you love. Just make sure you're conscious of the consequences and how to address and fix that.
And just to add to, when we are dealing with a sport with the youth that doesn't have the diaphragm working properly, there's a disintegration. And I'm seeing with a lot of kids, for example, if they try running, they almost look really unstable, more awkward, almost loose, you know? It's like they don't have their fascia structure isn't as solid, because as they're growing, there's not enough oxygen and nutrients getting to all of these cells to really build them and have them grow as strong, solid bodies. So when you add that rotation into a body that doesn't have that diaphragm foundation for breath, then that's why we're really seeing such an increase. Like I'm finishing up my next book called Unblock Your Body, Unlocking the Mysteries of Your Fascia. And one of the chapters is about scoliosis, an epidemic on the rise, because I'm seeing it in kids. Like kids are definitely far more twisted. And Quinn, you and I, we went a couple of years ago to see the movie It, the remake of the 80s classic movie It. And I remember, watching this movie in the 80s and then watching it with you. And it was so strange, because here we've got all these kids wearing 80s clothes, 80s hairstyles, but they have the posture of today. So for me, it looked really strange. And then when we came home, we pulled up the cast from the original movie and then this cast, and it's like, holy smokes, like bodies are completely different than they were even only that many years ago. And it's only continuing. So we really have this great opportunity to use this time to get kids back. And what we like, obviously right now, I mean, people are at home. So it's a really great opportunity. Not that we're telling you to go out and buy a block. We actually have a free gift for anybody that wants it. My book, Fascia Decompression, The Missing Link in Self-Care, as well as the free video that we did just to teach people using a partner how you can open up that rib cage and get back to a better alignment with your breath. So Quinn and I made this video a couple of weeks ago to share with everybody, but you don't have to do it on an adult. It's the same concepts you can do on your kids. Penka, do you have anything you want to add or share about all of this right now?
I think because of the situation the world is in right now, and we're kind of together with our kids at home all day, this is a really good opportunity as a bonding experience, as one of the activities that we can do together to help, as you mentioned, Diana, to open the rib cage, start teaching them about the breath, about fascia, and most importantly, how to self-care, because this is all going to translate later for them understanding their bodies better and being in a position where they understand self-care as well.
Another piece that's really nice, as this is a starting point, is they understand pressure. Because the whole concept of block therapy is the fact that pressure overrides pain. The pressure fibers in the body are larger in diameter than the pain fibers. So if somebody gets hurt, like if you bang your knee, you rub your knee because it feels good to do that. And that really is the nice thing about block therapy. When we lie on this block, like some people that don't understand it, they might look at this hard piece of wood and think, wow, I'm in so much pain. The last thing I want to do is lie on something hard because it's going to apply more pain. But it comes down to surface area. So the block itself has a surface area that we lie on. And then over time, we melt through those layers and those pressure fibers kick in. So it becomes a good pain. You're also in control of that. So what's really nice, as of course, we're teaching you how to use a partner with this, as the parent, you know, you can start nice and slow, and kids' bodies move nice and easily. And it's really just simply about making sure that everybody feels good, and pressure does feel good. Having two hands on a body is very comforting and very soothing. And when you slowly apply the pressure, as we teach you in that video, it really nicely opens up that rib cage so you can get back to that proper alignment, back to that fuller breath. I mean, it's a process, and it's not just about the rib cage, but right now, this is the most important thing. We want to make sure that the lungs are healthy, that they're properly fed, that we're getting the waste out of the body. We've mentioned many times before that there was a study done in 2014 in Australia that proved that 84% of weight loss comes through proper exhalation. And what that basically tells us is we have this amazing ability to remove waste from the body through the exhale. So, you know, that's huge to understand, because as for me, when I was, you know, going through my process of trying to lose my 50 pounds of extra weight, I was doing what I was taught. I was decreasing my calories, increasing my energy, but I was getting bigger. And it was because I wasn't breathing. I was in a painful, fearful state in my life. So as hard as I worked, my body was literally frozen. So it's really understanding how to get this breath going. It is the key to everything, and your breath will never fail you. Your breath is your guide. We teach that with everything. As long as you're breathing in a relaxed way, you will be feeding and healing your body. If something hurts so much that it takes that relaxed breath away, that's your body saying, hey, too much. So for example, if you're going to lift something heavy and you can't lift it with your breath, then it's simply too heavy. And if you force, now you're putting your body in a position to injure. So if we keep that breath rule in block in life, then we keep ourselves properly fed and clean, and our body lets us know when we're doing something that we shouldn't be doing, that's too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
Quinn,
I'm just,
do you
pardon
have
me.
any questions I was going to say?
Yeah, I'm just looking right now. So I know because we had to last second.
I know it created a little
Be
confusion
live
and
on
I was a
YouTube.
little lost.
Yeah, for sure. So we don't
Sorry,
have any
everybody.
questions quite yet, but those who are joining us live really appreciate that. That is awesome. But yeah, just talking a little bit more about like that free gift that we're giving. I put the link in the chat so you guys can all go in there now and download the video. You can stream the video or download, as well as Deanna's book. But Panka mentioned this is such a great opportunity to bond even more with your kid, because being able for you as the parent to apply pressure and work on your kid, they're going to start understanding these concepts without even having to do block therapy. But it is the parent's responsibility to do this. So you'd have to be a very conscious kid to be able to come and find this and say like, hey, I want to start addressing the fascia system and posture. But like it's hard as a kid to understand that. So as a parent, that's something that you can just try. Again, it's absolutely free. You see what you think of it. It's a very similar concept to what we're going to be doing with block therapy, and what Deanna and Panka have developed with the Block for Kids program. It's fascinating, and it brings you through this step-by-step, day-by-day program so that you can really address the body as a whole. So releasing the fascia, oxygenating the body, and then implementing the posture, the proper postural foundation. So again, getting people in at a young age is like the answer. And so many people are so compressed and collapsed. And it even hurts for me to see young kids at the gym working out when they are completely out of whack, because like they're just building themselves further out of alignment. And it's hard to see that. So if people can just really understand these key concepts, it's not even hard. Once you just understand the fascia to a degree, what it feels like to release it, how to oxygenate your body, and just how to align your body correctly, implement all those postural foundations into everything you do. And the more you do it, the better you're going to become at reminding yourself to align your body correctly, to implement it into anything you're doing, into sports, into working out into sitting in front of the TV playing video games. You can still play video games. You can still have all the fun you want and do whatever you want to do. It's just understanding how your body should be aligned for everything you're doing. You're not going to be perfect when you first start. You're probably never going to be perfect, but it's just working towards that. Like if perfection was our goal, that is our goal. And yeah, again.
And let's talk a little bit about stress and anxiety too, because, you know, it's funny. I've heard parents so many times say, well, my kid's only 10. So what do they have to be stressed about? You know, like the parent sees that, you know, they're getting fed, they've got a roof over their heads. They, you know, they've got all the things that they apparently want, but we absorb the world around us. So if parents are stressed, guaranteed your kids are stressed, because that's how it works. If you're living in the same environment, that's what's going to happen. So one of the really great things about when we start oxygenating cells, if we have an anxious body, it's because our cells are not getting what they need to thrive. And I've in the past, and still do at times, suffer from anxiety. But now I know why, and now I know what to do about it. If we are anxious, because pain, fear, and stress cause us to reactively hold the breath, we lock that breath away from our activity, and our cells are hungry. So we still expect them to do everything that they're doing. We don't even know half, or even like, you know, a fraction of what they do. Watch again, The Life of a Cell by David Belinsky. It is truly, truly amazing, but it just gives you that understanding that these cells are working. So it doesn't matter what cell it is. We've got all these systems and all of these things happening synchronistically in the body to make our bodies move and work the way that they do. And if we don't give the cells what they need, then they're going to struggle, and they're going to give us signs. And anxiety is a sign. Pain is a sign. It's a sign that the cell needs something. And basically what it needs is flow, blood, oxygen, all the nutrients that are sent in the blood. And they also need to be cleaned away. So that's the really great thing, when we can kind of look at the body in a bit of a different light than what we are used to. I used to say, I have anxiety. Now, if I feel anxious, now I understand that my cells need something different than what I'm giving them. Maybe I'm fatigued, maybe I'm dehydrated. Whatever it is though, our cells require certain things, just like we as people require food, rest, water to survive. Our cells also need those things to survive, but we also can help them thrive. And if our cells are thriving because they're getting proper oxygen and flow, then we in our life are thriving. Everything is a mirror of itself. So again, starting at that younger age, especially because at a younger age, children are now in a very, very different alignment than I was when I was at that age. We really want them to understand how simple it is. It's just a discipline, just like anything else. Like you brush your teeth every day because you want to have clean, healthy teeth. We want our fascia to be strong and clean and healthy as well. So it's a discipline. If you spend 15 minutes a day as a minimum looking after your fascia system, the gains you will make in your life in general, the amount of time you will have. We're even going to be doing some really good videos for, you know, toddlers and babies to teach parents how to get them breathing properly. That means better sleep for the baby, which means better sleep for the parent. Better digestion, less issues that you're going to have to deal with, calmer people in general, people that have a better attention. You know, all of these things come down to if our system is chaotic inside, it's going to be very hard for anybody to sit and pay attention and be calm and in the moment, because our breath isn't allowing us to be in the moment. When we breathe from those muscles of the upper chest, it keeps that brain pattern at a different frequency, which is where stress lives. Bringing the breath back down to that diaphragm keeps us in the moment, so we can be living the moments that we're in, as opposed to being somewhere, but really somewhere else in our brain, which is a place of stress as opposed to a place of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We actually have a couple questions here.
Oh, good.
So first one is, do you have any breathing exercises you'd recommend for smaller children? How can they understand what a diaphragm is?
Great question. You know, we are going to be doing a lot more videos specifically for kids, but the free gift that we have, we teach you how to access that breath. The same thing applies for kids. The only thing is, on that video, because again, we're talking about adults on the video, you need to be in a position for 3 minutes as a minimum. With kids, you simply don't have to be there as long. They pick it up a lot faster. Our bodies want to be breathing from the right place. And that's something I think we really need to understand. Our bodies want to be healthy. They want to be driven properly. It's like suddenly we've been given this Ferrari, but like nobody has a license to drive or an understanding of what we're doing in this incredible machine.
Mm-hmm.
So we aren't driving the body the way it was meant to be driven, but it wants to be that way. So by giving it a little bit of attention, suddenly we can kickstart that breath. So download that video and absolutely work on those. And then if you have any questions, join our block therapy community and post those questions there so that we can continue to guide you with this process with your kids.
Perfect.
And with the kids, we don't even have to use the word diaphragm, sorry. We can just tell them, breathe through your belly. You can put a toy on their belly and just tell them when the toy rises up, that's when they inhale, their belly gets bigger. And when the toy goes down, that's when they exhale. So it's really connecting with what they already love and their favorite toys and stories that they read to implement it with the practice.
Yeah, that's very smart. I like that. And yeah, they don't need to know exactly what the diaphragm is right off the hop. They will understand that as they get older and as they continue to do this practice. But we actually, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Penka, you've also taught some kids classes, and you observed some really cool things as a result of teaching the class. I think it's a great time to share that.
Yes. So one of the things I observed, it was actually directly related to breathing. It was a 5-day back-to-back classes, so every day of the week, Monday to Friday. And from 2 things that I noticed improved, it was actually really amazing. Between day 1 and day 5, their focus, first of all, changed so much. We started by barely even doing 1 minute on the block. Kids were all fidgety, talking, interrupting each other. And then towards the end, they could stay on the block even for 3 minutes, and we would carry out a conversation. And some of the kids were sharing as they were going throughout their day. They felt a little, one girl in particular, I remember, she felt anxious. And then she remembered we talked about the breath. And so she said she just sat down and she started breathing, which is something that really warmed my heart, because we have our breath with us always. And whether they're in school, in the playground, playing sports, or just about to go play a playoff in hockey, the breath is with them. And if we teach them how to properly use the breath, they can help to get out of that stressful situation that they might be in by connecting and creating internal peace. And another really amazing thing that I observed is they were actually coaching their parents how to manage their pain and proper posture. I had one of the moms was there, and she was telling me her son, who was about 9 years old, he was telling his dad what to do about his low back pain. Which I thought was really amazing, because
that's amazing.
We mentioned here that it's the parents who are driving this, but in this case, it was the kids that were driving the health of their family. So
that is so funny.
Observation. Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. Yeah. And who knows? That's what's going to be really interesting to see in the future with block therapy, if we can eventually get this into schools and get them just understanding these simple concepts at a young age. Everything's going to change in school as well. As Penka mentioned, their attention, their breathing. Maybe before you start gym class, you jump in the belly position and just get the breath warmed up and going. Like, there's so many amazing ideas that we can start or that we can implement in the future in schools. But just even if you have a block or a block baby and you have a kid and he or she hasn't experienced the block yet, just throwing it under the belly just for a minute, as Penka mentioned, get them breathing, just understanding what that feels like. Of course, the first time is going to feel awkward. It felt awkward for me. I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't fully understand what the diaphragm was. Nobody really does until you give it a shot, until you try it. But it's how you feel after is the miracle. It's like, wow, okay, you feel actually different, which is really weird. It's a weird concept when you think about it. Like, your whole body energetically feels a lot different, a lot more calm. And some people have never felt that before. So that's why having that daily habit of doing the belly position, even if that's all you do, is tremendous for your health. But
And that's why that nice, just that very first thing that we teach in this free video, really connects. And it's cool because in the moment you can see if the person is getting the breath or not. And then we guide you on what to do if we're having struggles with that. So Quinn, you were going to say a question here.
Oh, no. Yeah, I'm just going to read here. Sorry, missed the first part. How do you keep the kids' attention when teaching them the block? How do you make it fun for them?
So there's different ways that you can do that. Again, you can bring in part of their world. For example, if they like to read books, you can have a book in front of them while they're laying on the belly position and have them read a page or two. You can also make paper airplanes. You can just implement games, play cards, play a board game even. You can, just whatever your kid likes doing, just bring that into their world. And just a couple of examples of what can be done.
And one really, really simple thing, because at the end of the day, what's happening is the body is collapsing forward. So even just putting something behind the back, like even a book, I mean, we teach people to use a block, but even putting a book behind your back so that they have to hold that book up while they're on their computer or reading, that's just a really good reminder, because as soon as you lean forward, it falls. So these are nice little reminders of what to do. And that is something so profound, simply holding or sitting up straight and holding that book or block in place, because you can't collapse. Also, when people are sitting, we have great opportunity to utilize this work and understand what we can do. So when we're sitting, we should have our knees at 90 degrees, and we should have our feet firmly planted on the floor, and we should have our knees nice and close together. With the block, we teach people to hold the block between the knees. So you can use something else. Again, you can use a book or something else to hold that there in that alignment. That supports a better lower body alignment, which then supports the upper body. So in a seated position, there's lots of things that we can do, because we sit a lot of the day and we're in front of these computers. So you might have to adjust the height of the computer. You might have to bring the chair a little closer so that you can actually sit back and work. But that's a great thing to do to just really assist with the postural piece.
Love it. Love it. And we just got a comment. This isn't a question, but says, I love it. Thank you for this class. I hear you guys saying these things, and each time I learn more and more, and the information just sinks in. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So there's no more questions so far. And again, I understand it was a little more challenging to find us on this live call today. So
I was sorry. I was totally thrown at the beginning too. I didn't suddenly know what was happening.
Yeah.
That kind of makes it fun though. We're far more in the moment that way.
Yeah, totally. And this is a great recording that you guys can have and review at any time.
And also post questions later after you review the recording. If you're watching this video at a later time, just post the questions under the video, and then we'll be happy to answer them as well.
Totally.
So the reality is we have the free book, the free class. We also have the Block for Kids program. So if it's something that you're interested in, again, it's Panka and Alex have done it together. It's a great program. And there's always, with block therapy, there's always support. So it's not like you just get something and then you're on your own. We are always here for you. You just have to become part of our community. And then you've got access to us and all of the other fascia masters, as well as all the other block therapy enthusiasts who've been blocking for years, that also have so much to share about their experience and their wisdom with this process.
Awesome. Totally. And if you're not in the block therapy private Facebook community, you can join that at any time. You don't need to have a block or anything. If you're just wanting to learn a little bit more and just hear the conversation, have some support. If you have any questions as well, Panka mentioned you can absolutely comment below this video, but you can also ask if it's questions that maybe aren't necessarily related to this topic. You can just throw that in the Block Therapy Facebook community group, and we will have an army of people supporting you and helping you with your questions. So yeah, I think that's pretty well everything for today, unless you guys wanted to add anything else in.
Panka, anything else you want to add?
I just want to encourage everyone, just be patient, and it's a great opportunity to be proactive with your child's health.
This is a perfect time.
When we're proactive, it's much easier to handle things later in life.
Love it. Love it. No,
And we certainly have a lot of stress that we're having to handle in these moments. So parents and kids alike, we're all in the same boat right now. And it really does all come down to the breath. So just again, getting back to this virus that we are dealing with right now, it's affecting people in the upper chest. And that's the upper chest breathers are going to be the ones that are going to be most strongly affected by this. So if we can, no matter what, bring our breath down to that belly, then we have a whole different opportunity to bring the breath into the body, to absorb the oxygen, to move the waste out, and to keep our immune system supported and healthy through this time and every single day of our life going forward. Because just because we're in a pandemic at the moment doesn't mean stress isn't always affecting us anyway. So if we can just start now, use this time that we're all at home and sequestered, and really get our bodies and our partners and our family on board, then we can get through this and then move forward in the healthiest way possible, which is the goal.
Totally. So many people are even reaching out to me saying like, hey, like I'm ready to start making a change in my body. I have time. There's no excuse. And it's true. There isn't really an excuse. I know some people are essential workers and it's different for others, but those who do have the time, this is totally the perfect opportunity to start making change in your body and in your family. So I hope this talk and this conversation brought a little bit more clarity to you and how important it is to address this topic with the youth, with the kids now, so we can make sure that they're growing in the healthiest way possible. They're managing their anxiety at a young age, because people are experiencing anxiety at younger ages now. And that could be because of technology or whatever the case really is. But anyways, again, thank you so much for joining. The free link or the free class and Deanna's book is in the chat here. So you can download that, stream that immediately, and start implementing that and bringing that into your family. So again, thank you all for joining. And if that's everything, have a fantastic day. Stay healthy. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Panka. Thank you, Quinn. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.